Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we are looking at Nippon Life India Asset Management. We've got reports, presentations, all sorts of materials, and we're trying to figure out, how they've become so successful.
Sounds good.
It's pretty remarkable just how big they've gotten. Their investor base is massive at over 1.65 crore people.
Wow.
That's like 1 in 3 investors in India.
That's huge.
Yeah. So let's start with the basics. How much are they managing?
Well, they're managing over 4.31 lakh crore.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. And it's actually a 47% increase year on year, which makes them the fastest growing among the top 10 asset management companies in India.
So where's all that money coming from?
Well, a huge chunk of that growth, 63% to be precise, comes from their equity assets.
So people are really trusting them with their stock market investments.
It seems that way.
So does that mean people are moving away from more traditional investments like debt?
Well, their debt assets also grew, but at a more modest 18%. So this brought their total equity assets under management to a whopping 2.12 lakh crore.
Okay, so clearly they're doing something right.
Yeah, and it's not just Nippon Life, it's the
Yeah.
entire mutual fund sector. We're seeing more and more retail investors dip their toes into the stock market.
And why is that?
I think it's a combination of factors. Better market performance definitely plays a role,
Sure.
but also increased financial literacy and awareness. More people are understanding the potential of the stock market.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So they're riding this wave of, increased interest in equity, but it's not just about gathering assets, right? They need to make money from it.
Right.
How are they doing on that front?
Well, this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
They've managed to translate this growth into some seriously impressive profits. Their operating profit hit a record high of 958 crore,
Wow.
which is a 26% jump from last year.
Nice.
And their profit after tax, a staggering 11,107 crore. That's a 53% increase.
Slow down. Those numbers are making my head spin. So where's all this profit coming from? Is it mainly management fees?
Management fees are a big part of it, of course, but they're also generating revenue from advisory services and other avenues.
Okay, so they're diversifying their income streams.
Exactly.
Smart move. But high revenue doesn't always mean high efficiency, right?
Right.
How well are they managing their costs?
Actually, their cost efficiency is quite impressive. Their EBITDA margins are a clear indicator of this, and their return on equity, or ROE, reached an impressive 29.5%.
Okay, so those are some good signs.
Yeah, this points to their smart operational strategy and a robust digital infrastructure they've been building over the past several years.
So they're not just about growth, they're about sustainable growth. I like it. Can you give us a specific example of how their digital infrastructure is helping them be more efficient?
Absolutely. One example is their strategic shift to hyperscaler technology.
Okay, and what is that exactly?
Yeah. Hyperscaler technology is basically designed to handle massive amounts of data and traffic. So by adopting this, Nippon Life has streamlined its digital transactions, leading to smoother operations and ultimately lower costs.
So they're investing in technology to become more efficient.
Exactly. And this is particularly important given the significant increase in their investor base and online activity.
That makes sense. So it seems like they're making all the right moves, but even with great technology, you still need customers.
Of course.
How are they attracting and retaining investors?
Well, they've seen a 22% increase in their unique investor base, reaching a massive 1.65 crore individuals.
Wow, so they're not having any trouble attracting investors.
Not at all. This means they have a 37% market share. Essentially, 1 out of every 3 investors in India chooses Nippon Life.
Okay, now that's impressive.
It is.
So what's their secret? How are they attracting so many investors?
Well, they've been quite successful with their investor education programs and digital initiatives. Their digital platforms are particularly attractive.
Okay, and what makes them so attractive?
Well, did you know that 60% of their transactions are done online?
Really?
Yeah, they've even integrated WhatsApp communication and a user-friendly investor portfolio dashboard, making investing more accessible and convenient.
Wow, so they're really making investing easier and more engaging.
Exactly, that's the idea.
Smart move.
Yeah.
So they've got the investors, but what about the regulatory side of things? How is SEBI impacting their operations?
Well, SEBI is very focused on investor protection, transparency, and market integrity.
That's good.
Yeah, it is. But this translates into evolving regulations that asset management companies like Nippon Life need to adapt to.
Of course.
For example, SEBI mandates that companies collect PAN and KYC details for all shareholders, even those holding shares in physical form.
Okay, so more paperwork, more hoops to jump through.
Basically, yeah, it impacts their onboarding process and record keeping.
So they're having to navigate a constantly changing regulatory environment.
Definitely.
Sounds like quite a balancing act.
It is, but it's not just about compliance. Nippon Life is also actively embracing SEBI's initiatives.
Oh, really?
How so?
For example, they've adopted 19 districts for investor awareness programs as part of a SEBI program demonstrating their commitment to investor education.
So they're going above and beyond.
Exactly. They're not just ticking the boxes. They're genuinely invested in a healthy and informed investment ecosystem.
That's great to hear. So they're doing well on the regulatory front. They're attracting and retaining investors. But what about their performance within the market itself?
Okay.
How are they stacking up against the competition?
Well, they've seen a significant increase in their market share, which is now at 7.97%.
Okay.
This actually represents the highest jump in the entire industry, and it's their highest market share since the 2019 fiscal year.
So they're not just growing, they're gaining ground on their competitors.
Exactly.
That's impressive.
And what's even more remarkable is they achieved all this without the advantage of a parent banking partner, unlike many of their competitors.
Oh, really? Yeah. They've also become the fourth largest asset management company in terms of total assets under management, even surpassing some rivals in terms of equity assets.
Wow. All right, so they're punching above their weight.
You could say that.
But are there any specific areas where they particularly stand out?
They've been absolutely dominating the exchange-traded funds, or ETFs, segment.
Okay.
Their passive assets under management in this category crossed the impressive 1 lakh crore mark. They've also achieved a 16.7% market share in ETF assets under management, a whopping 300 basis point increase. And on top of all that, they're maintaining a volume share of over 60% on exchanges.
So they're the kings of ETFs.
Pretty much.
All right, well, it's clear they're doing a lot of things right, but all of this success doesn't happen overnight. What are some of the key factors that have contributed to their impressive growth and profitability?
Well, I think their success can be attributed to several factors. They've clearly tapped into the growing investor appetite for equity, particularly through their strong performance in the ETF segment. Additionally, their focus on digital initiatives has made investing more accessible and appealing to a wider audience. And let's not forget their commitment to cost efficiency and operational excellence.
So they're strategically positioning themselves to capitalize on market trends while also building a solid foundation for sustainable growth.
Exactly.
But the financial world is never static. What challenges do they face moving forward?
Well, one key challenge is the increasing competition within the asset management industry. New players are entering the market, and existing players are upping their game. So Nippon Life will need to stay ahead of the curve to maintain its competitive edge.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Maintaining their momentum won't be a walk in the park.
Definitely not.
So what opportunities are on the horizon for them?
Well, one exciting opportunity is the continued growth of the Indian economy. As the economy expands, so does the demand for financial products and services. This presents a huge potential market for Nippon Life to tap into.
So the future looks bright.
It certainly does.
But are there any specific strategies they can use to capitalize on this growth?
Well, they could explore new product offerings tailored to the needs of specific investor segments.
Okay, like what?
For instance, they could launch innovative investment schemes focused on emerging sectors like renewable energy or technology.
That's a really interesting idea. So they need to be creative and adapt to evolving investor preferences.
Absolutely.
But what about their international presence? Could expanding their global footprint be a viable strategy?
Definitely. They already have a presence in Singapore and Dubai, but they could further expand into other high-growth markets, attracting a global investor base.
It seems like they have a lot of exciting avenues to explore. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's step back and look at their current performance. Their financial numbers are undeniably impressive. But what do they tell us about their overall strategy?
Well, their financial performance reflects a well-defined strategy focused on both growth and sustainability. They're not just chasing short-term gains, they're building a solid foundation for long-term success. Their impressive ROE of 29.5% is a testament to this. It indicates that they're effectively utilizing their shareholders' investments to generate profits.
So they're not just growing, they're growing smartly.
Precisely.
Financial performance is only one part of the story. What about their approach to corporate social responsibility, or CSR?
Okay.
Are they just focused on profits, or are they giving back to the community as well?
Well, they're actually quite active in the CSR space.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, they have clearly outlined their initiatives focusing on areas like healthcare education support for the armed forces and environmental sustainability.
Can you give us some specific examples of their CSR activities?
Absolutely. They've partnered with the Vision Foundation of India to support eye surgeries for senior citizens and those from economically disadvantaged backgrounds.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, they've also collaborated with the Adjutant General's branch of the Indian Army to support early intervention centers for children with birth defects and developmental delays. And they're working with TIRI, a renowned research institute for integrated community development in Sharkhand, focusing on sustainable solutions for natural resource management and education.
It's great to hear that they're giving back to the community and making such a positive impact.
Yeah, they're really committed to being a responsible corporate citizen.
That's fantastic. So
Yeah.
they're not just making money, they're making a difference.
Exactly.
I like that. But let's get back to their financials for a moment. We've talked about their revenue streams and profitability, but what about their investor metrics?
Sure.
What can you tell us about their SIP inflows, redemption rates, and client base growth?
Well, their investor metrics paint a very positive picture. Their SIP inflows have grown by an incredible 92%, reaching 21,081 crore. This indicates a growing preference for disciplined long-term investment strategies among their client base.
That's quite a jump in SIP inflows.
It-
It seems like they're successfully promoting a culture of consistent investing.
Yes, they are.
But what about redemption rates? Are investors sticking with them, or are they pulling their money out?
Their redemption rates are actually quite healthy, indicating that investors are confident in their long-term performance and strategy. This is further supported by the fact that their total folios have grown significantly by 47 lakh, bringing the total to a whopping 2.43 crore.
So they're not just attracting new investors, they're also retaining existing ones. That's a sign of a healthy and thriving business.
It is.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground already, but let's take a moment to recap some of the key things we've learned about Nippon Life India Asset Management.
Okay.
They're experiencing phenomenal growth across the board.
Yes.
They're attracting tons of new investors.
Right.
Their existing investors are happy, and they're outperforming their competitors.
Yeah, right.
They're doing all of this while maintaining a strong commitment to sustainability and social responsibility. It's a pretty impressive story,
It is.
and it'll be interesting to see what they do next.
Absolutely. So we've talked a lot about their financials and growth.
Yeah, we have.
But I think it's important to also look at their approach to responsible investing.
Yeah, you're right. Responsible investing, or ESG, as it's often called, is a hot topic these days.
It is.
But it can sometimes feel a bit like a buzzword.
Yeah.
Can you break it down for us? What does ESG actually mean in the context of asset management?
Sure. ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance.
Okay.
So in simple terms, it's about looking beyond just the financial returns of a company and considering its impact on the environment,
Okay.
its social practices, and how well it's governed. It's about investing in companies that are not just profitable, but also sustainable, responsible, and ethical.
So it's not just about making money, it's about making money in a way that aligns with your values.
Exactly. And more investors are recognizing that a company's ESG performance can significantly impact its long-term value and risk profile.
So how is Nippon Life incorporating ESG principles into their investment strategies?
Well, they're definitely not just talking the talk. They've been quite vocal about their commitment to responsible investing and are actually taking concrete steps to integrate ESG factors into their investment decisions.
Okay, like what?
For instance, they're a signatory to the Principles for Responsible Investment, or PRI.
Okay.
This is a globally recognized framework for incorporating ESG considerations into investment decision-making.
So they're putting their money where their mouth is?
Exactly.
But what does that look like in practice? How are they actually implementing these principles?
Well, they have a multi-pronged approach.
Okay.
First, they have a screening process for portfolio companies.
Okay.
So they carefully evaluate a company's exposure to ESG risks and assess their governance practices before making any investment decisions.
So they're not just blindly investing, they're being selective about the companies they support.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just initial screening. They've developed an internal proprietary risk rating system
Okay.
that analyzes companies based on specific ESG factors relevant to their sector and operations.
So they have their own in-house system for evaluating ESG risks.
Yeah, this system helps them identify potential red flags and allows them to engage with companies to encourage them to improve their ESG performance.
It sounds like they're taking a very proactive approach,
They are.
not just passively investing, but actively working to drive positive change.
And importantly, they're transparent about their process. They have distinct responsible investment policies for both their equity and fixed income investments,
Okay.
outlining their objectives, principles, strategy approach, and governance practices related to ESG.
So they're very clear about how they're incorporating ESG into their investment decisions.
Yeah, this transparency helps build trust with their investors.
That's reassuring for investors who care about these issues.
Right.
But what about their own internal practices? Are they just preaching ESG to others, or are they walking the walk themselves?
Well, they're putting their own house in order as well.
Okay.
They've established a robust governance structure to oversee their ESG initiatives. At the highest level, the board of directors is responsible for ensuring that their ESG policy is effectively implemented.
Okay.
They've also created a dedicated ESG committee that plays a crucial role in streamlining the implementation of responsible investment principles and reporting on their ESG performance.
So they're not just relying on individual good intentions, they have a system in place
Right.
to ensure accountability and progress.
Exactly. It's a structured approach. And they're not just focusing on high-level policies, they're also addressing practical aspects like employee well-being, diversity and inclusion, and environmental sustainability within their own operations.
Can you give us some specific examples of their internal ESG initiatives?
Sure. They've launched a comprehensive diversity, equity, and inclusion policy to promote a more inclusive workplace.
Okay.
This has led to a 25% increase in female hiring, and they have specific programs aimed at developing female leadership.
That's great.
They're also taking steps to reduce their environmental footprint. They've significantly reduced their paper consumption and implemented systems for responsible waste management.
So they're walking the walk
AR.
and making a real effort to align their internal practices with their ESG commitments.
Yes.
But are these efforts actually making a difference?
Well, measuring the impact of ESG initiatives can be complex, but they're clearly moving in the right direction.
Okay.
Their commitment to responsible investing is attracting investors who prioritize ESG factors. And their internal ESG practices are contributing to a more sustainable and equitable workplace.
So they're on the right track.
They are.
But as with any journey, there's always room for improvement.
Right.
What are some areas where they could further strengthen their ESG performance?
One area for improvement could be setting even more ambitious and measurable ESG targets.
Okay.
For instance, they could set specific goals for reducing their carbon footprint or increasing the diversity of their workforce.
Okay.
This would provide a clear roadmap for their ESG journey and make it easier to track progress and demonstrate impact.
Having those concrete goals can definitely drive action and accountability. What else could they do to further enhance their ESG performance?
They could also further enhance their stakeholder engagement.
Okay.
Engaging with investors, employees, communities, and other stakeholders to understand their concerns and perspectives is crucial for developing truly effective and impactful ESG strategies.
It's a reminder that ESG is not just about ticking boxes, it's about building genuine relationships and creating shared value. Now let's zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture. What are some of the key challenges and opportunities they face in the evolving financial landscape?
Well, one key challenge is the increasing competition within the asset management industry. New players are entering the market, and existing players are upping their game.
Sure.
Nippon Life needs to stay agile and innovative to maintain its competitive edge.
You mentioned earlier that they don't have a parent banking partner,
Right.
which seems to have worked in their favor so far.
Mm-hmm.
But could that become a challenge as they try to expand their reach?
That's a great question. While their independent structure has allowed them to be nimble and responsive to market changes, it also means they don't have the built-in distribution network that comes with a banking partner.
Okay.
So they'll need to continue strengthening their strategic partnerships and digital platforms to reach a wider investor base and compete effectively.
So they're playing a different game than some of their competitors. What about the evolving investor landscape itself? How are changing investor preferences impacting their strategy?
Well, today's investors are more informed and demanding than ever before. They're looking for personalized investment solutions, transparent communication, and user-friendly digital tools.
Yeah.
Nippon Life has clearly recognized this shift as evidenced by their investments in digital infrastructure and investor education programs.
Their focus on systematic investment plans, or SIPs, also seems to align with this trend.
Exactly.
It suggests they're encouraging a more disciplined and long-term approach to investing,
Right.
which is something that many investors, particularly younger generations, are looking for.
Exactly. SIBs have become increasingly popular in India, especially among younger investors.
Okay.
So, by promoting SAPs, Nippon Life is tapping into this growing segment and fostering a culture of consistent investing, which can lead to greater financial stability for their clients and a more predictable revenue stream for the company.
It's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
But let's talk about another factor that can significantly impact their operations, the regulatory landscape. We touched upon SEBI's influence earlier, but how could future regulatory changes impact their profitability?
Well, SEBI is continuously evolving its regulations to protect investors and ensure market integrity,
Okay.
which is a good thing overall.
Yeah.
However, this can create compliance challenges and increase operational costs for asset management companies.
So staying ahead of the regulatory curve is crucial for their continued success.
Absolutely. They need to proactively adapt to new regulations and invest in robust compliance systems.
Yeah.
Failure to do so could result in penalties, reputational damage, and even restrictions on their operations,
Okay.
which could significantly impact their profitability.
So it's not just about growth and profitability. It's
Okay.
also about navigating a complex and ever-changing regulatory environment.
Precisely. And let's not forget about the global economic outlet. Factors like inflation, interest rate hikes, and geopolitical uncertainties can have a significant impact on market performance and investor sentiment.
Yeah, that's true.
So these global economic forces can affect their assets under management and ultimately their profitability.
It seems like they're operating in a constantly shifting landscape with multiple variables at play.
They are.
It's a challenging environment, but it also presents opportunities.
Yes.
What are some of the opportunities that they can capitalize on?
Well, amidst these challenges lie tremendous opportunities. India's economy is growing rapidly, and with it, the demand for financial products and services is on the rise. This presents a huge potential market for Nippon Life India Asset Management to tap into.
That's an exciting prospect. What specific strategies could they leverage to capitalize on this growth potential?
Well, they could explore new product offerings tailored to the needs of specific investor segments. For instance, they could launch innovative investment schemes focused on emerging sectors like renewable energy or technology,
Okay.
which are attracting a lot of investor interest.
Expanding their international presence could also be a strategic move, right? We've already discussed this a bit, but it seems like a key opportunity for growth.
We know they already have a presence in Singapore and Dubai,
Yeah.
but they could further expand into other high-growth markets, attracting a global investor base seeking diversification and exposure to India's growth story.
And they could leverage their expertise in technology
Yes.
to create even more seamless and user-friendly digital platforms,
Precisely.
making investing more accessible and appealing to tech-savvy investors.
And let's not underestimate the power of their brand reputation.
Yeah.
They've built a strong foundation of trust and credibility.
Oh.
By continuing to prioritize transparency, ethical practices, and social responsibility, they can further solidify their position as a leader in the industry and attract investors who align with those values.
So it's about balancing growth with sustainability innovation, with compliance and global expansion, with a strong focus on the Indian market.
Exactly.
It's a multifaceted approach.
They're in a strong position to navigate these challenges and seize the opportunities that lie ahead.
Okay.
Their journey so far has been marked by strategic decision-making agility and a customer-centric approach,
Okay.
which are all essential ingredients for success in today's dynamic financial landscape.
It's been fascinating unpacking their success story and exploring the various facets of their business.
It has.
But we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
Can you give us a quick recap of the key takeaways?
Sure, here are the key insights to remember about Nippon Life India Asset Management.
Okay.
They've demonstrated remarkable growth in assets under management and profitability, driven by strong equity performance, digital initiatives, and cost efficiency. Okay.
They've established themselves as a leader in the exchange-traded funds segment, capturing a significant market share and maintaining a strong presence on exchanges.
Okay.
They're actively integrating environmental, social, and governance principles into their investment decisions and internal operations, aligning with the growing investor demand for responsible investing.
Okay.
They're strategically expanding their international presence, seeking to attract global investors and diversify their revenue streams by tapping into new markets.
Okay.
They're leveraging technology to create user-friendly digital platforms, enhance operational efficiency, and develop innovative investment solutions to meet evolving investor needs.
Okay.
And finally, they've built a solid brand reputation based on trust, transparency, and a customer-centric approach,
Okay.
which are key differentiators in the competitive asset management industry.
Those are some great insights.
Yeah.
It's clear that Nippon Life India Asset Management is a company to watch. Their journey provides valuable lessons for any business navigating a complex and evolving market. But what about our listeners?
What can they take away from this deep dive?
Yeah.
How can they apply these insights to their own investment decisions?
Here are some key questions that our listeners can consider as they think about their own investment strategies.
Okay.
How important are ESG factors to you as an investor?
Okay.
Are you looking to invest in companies that align with your values and contribute to a sustainable future?
Okay.
What is your risk tolerance?
Okay.
Are you seeking long-term growth or short-term gains? What are your specific financial goals, and how can your investments help you achieve them?
Okay.
How diversified is your investment portfolio?
Okay.
Are you seeking to diversify across different asset classes, sectors, and geographies? How much exposure to emerging markets like India are you comfortable with?
Okay.
How comfortable are you with using digital platforms for managing your investments?
Okay.
Are you looking for features like online transactions, portfolio tracking, and personalized investment advice?
Okay.
How much are you paying in fees and charges for your investments? Are you getting value for money in terms of performance service and transparency?
Okay.
And finally, how much research do you conduct before making an investment decision?
Okay.
Do you look beyond just financial performance and consider factors like ESG performance management, quality, and competitive landscape?
Those are thought-provoking questions to ponder. It's a reminder that staying informed and engaged in the financial landscape is crucial for making smart decisions about our own investments. It's not just about following the crowd or chasing the latest trends. It's about understanding your own financial goals, values, and risk tolerance, and making informed choices that align with your individual needs and aspirations.
Absolutely.
Welcome back to our deep dive. It's the final part.
Okay.
We've talked about financials, ESG, and their growth strategy.
Yeah, it's been a good overview.
It has. But I'd like to dig into some specific investor metrics now.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing to talk about overall growth, but I want to understand what's happening with individual investors.
Yeah, that granular level.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. So we've talked about their impressive growth in AUM, but what's fueling that growth? Are they attracting new investors, or are existing investors just, putting more money in?
Well, it's actually both. They've been very successful at attracting new investors, especially with their digital initiatives and investor education programs.
What's working?
Yeah, their unique investor base grew by 22%, reaching a massive 1.65 crore individuals.
Wow, so they're attracting a lot of new people.
Yeah, and remember, 1 in 3 investors in India choose Nippon Life.
That's incredible.
It is.
But are these new investors, really investing or just trying it out?
They're not just dipping their toes in the water.
Yeah.
Their SIP inflows grew by a staggering 92%, reaching around 21,081 crore.
Wow, that's a huge jump.
Yeah, it indicates a growing preference for disciplined long-term investing, which is a very positive sign.
For sure, both for the company and for the investors.
Exactly.
So that's new investors, but what about existing investors? Are they happy?
Well, their redemption rates are actually quite healthy, which suggests that investors are satisfied with their performance.
Okay, so they're sticking around.
Yeah, they are. This is also supported by the growth in their total folios, which increased by 47 lakh to reach a total of 2.43 crore.
All right, so it seems like they're doing a lot of things right when it comes to investors.
Definitely.
But let's talk about SEBI again. We touched on it earlier.
Mhm.
But how do these regulations actually impact their day-to-day operations?
Well, SEBI plays a big role in shaping the industry, and the regulations have a significant impact on companies like Nippon Life.
So what are some specific examples?
Well, one example is the mandate for PAN and KYC details for all shareholders, even those holding physical shares.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this impacts their investor onboarding and record keeping.
I bet.
It requires them to have very robust systems to ensure compliance.
So that's one way SEBI is impacting them. What else?
Well, they've also had to adopt 19 districts for investor awareness programs as part of a SEBI initiative.
Okay, and what does that involve?
It demonstrates their commitment to investor education. It's not just about compliance, they're actively involved in educating investors.
So they're really taking it seriously.
They are. They see these initiatives as an investment in building a sustainable and trustworthy business.
It sounds like they're being very proactive.
And it's paying off. Their proactive approach to compliance has actually helped them strengthen their reputation and gain investor confidence.
So it's not just a cost of doing business, it's a strategic advantage.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about their approach, their numbers, their ESG initiatives. What impresses you the most about them?
Honestly, what stands out to me is their ability to balance growth with responsibility. They're not just focused on profits.
Okay.
They're building a sustainable, ethical business focused on long-term value for investors and stakeholders.
I agree with that. It's refreshing to see a company that's doing well while also doing good.
For sure.
Well, it's been great unpacking all of this with you. We've covered a lot of ground, from their financials to their innovative strategies and their commitment to responsible investing. It's clear that they are a company to watch.
Absolutely.
And we hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into Nippon Life India Asset Management.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Remember, knowledge is power, and we encourage you to continue exploring the world of investing and the companies you choose to support.